Now, digging deeper tonight into that debate over changing aspects of Measure 110, Oregon's law that decriminalized hard drugs. Elise Haas joins us live as she continues to follow up on news that the initiative was officially filed. Elise?
So, Jeff, this initiative has a ways to go, as you know, before it would ever be collecting signatures or make it to the ballot. But it's important that we have these conversations right now about what's working and what isn't. Because these two groups who have competing views about Measure 110, overall, they have a shared goal of getting people with addiction into treatment and minimizing harm along the way. But they have different ideas of what will drive us in that direction. As fentanyl has become the leading drug causing overdoses, throughout Portland, you'll see people suffering in their active addiction. The creators of the initiative to change aspects of Measure 110 say their policy is focused on getting people into treatment more quickly, using misdemeanors and diversion to require mandatory treatment.
That's really our focus. And we think that the current model doesn't provide the necessary incentives or balance the public harm issues against the individual harm issues in a way that is actually working effectively.
Out of thousands of police citations for drug possession, 75% of people failed to show up for court, and only 50 people completed the full substance use assessment.
That it's dramatically underutilized.
Studies from PSU researchers suggest that the Measure 110 citation system and recovery hotline are ineffective in its current form.
Maybe over time we might see it increase, but I think we are leaning in the direction of where is that Measure 110 money going? If it's going into treatment centers and assessment centers and treatment providers, they also need to be funding outreach workers.
PSU researchers think it will take an army of outreach workers to connect people to treatment who don't have the family and friends that are doing it for them. Some Measure 110 fund recipients tend to agree.
So the citation in and of itself, to me, is ineffective. Sending out peers to the streets to meet folks that could use services, I see that as possibly the most effective way to get that person into care, rather than relying on them to pick up a phone after the police leave to call a number to get care.
A possible pilot program is under discussion right now. It would pair caseworkers with police for street outreach.
And we're deployed to go out and meet with the people. We need face-to-face contact. That's where our peers really come into play with their lived experience. They're able to use motivational interviewing.
So far last year, Measure 110 outreach workers made nearly 70,000 encounters with people in addiction. Measure 110 supporters say while the citation system doesn't appear to be working, 2022 data shows that more than 8,000 people connected to substance use disorder treatment via Measure 110 providers directly. They expect those numbers to grow as more resources have opened in recent months.
Ultimately, what we do know is that coerced and mandated treatment doesn't work, and that what people need when they go in voluntarily to access recovery and to services, they're much more likely to stay in recovery, and ultimately that's all what we want.
The group who wants to change Measure 110 agree those voluntary numbers are promising, yet they're still highly concerned about the people actively using in public who may lack the capacity to seek treatment and require an extra push to get the proper help.
What I would say is that when you compare voluntary treatment to mandatory treatment, voluntary treatment is always going to perform a little bit better, but that's the wrong comparison. The comparison ought to be mandatory treatment versus untreated individuals on the street, because they are the ones who aren't voluntarily moving into treatment.
PSU researchers suggest there is no one-size-fits-all approach to what motivates someone with a substance use disorder to get clean. But they say it's usually a combination of both carrots and sticks. And there is still so much more to discuss on this topic, and I promise you I will have even deeper dives on this issue in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, I'm open to your curiosities, your questions. For instance, this report was based off on outreach and engagement, was really prompted by a viewer's email to me today. Live in downtown Portland tonight, Elise Haas, KOIN 6 News.